different groups she belonged to focused on what she meant to the struggles from their end. As a result, I shall not be looking at Bene the socialist, nor Bene the ASU leader, but simply Bene the feminist, as this convening is by feminists. Bene's journey was one of profound courage, intellect, and compassion. As a professor of botany, she excelled in her academic pursuits, influencing countless students and colleagues with her depth of knowledge and unyielding curiosity. Until I had a goat that messed up my flowers, I grew many flowers because I saw how Bene loved and nurtured hers. I observed that she was never tired of picking up a new addition when the opportunity came in. Typical of Bene, she taught me the names of these flowers. So though I was not her university student, her knowledge of plants benefited me. Please permit me to get a glass of water. Oh, it's 3 a.m. here and I just jumped in without taking my usual water in the morning. Hence that happened. And of course, my emotions, talking about my sister friend. Her impact transcended the confines of academia. Bene was a trailblazer in feminist thought and action, a staunch advocate for socialism, and a relentless fighter against systemic oppression. She tackled issues of immense complexity and clarity, with clarity and determination, leaving a legacy that will continue to inspire us all. She described herself with powerful simplicity as feminist, no ifs, no buts, full stop. This statement, at a time when people feared feminism and questioned whether there were African feminists, was more than a declaration. That was Bene. It was a call to action. For her, feminism was not an abstract concept, but a lived reality, one that demanded vigilance, integrity, and boldness. She worked tirelessly to dismantle patriarchal structures and amplify the voices of women and marginalized communities. I met Bene in 1984 when I joined Women in Nigeria in my search for a forum that would help to reduce the incidence of girls' disinheritance, having just been told, you are a woman, only males inherit, during the sharing of my late father's estate. I found WIN to be the right place to be and rose to be Bene's deputy when she emerged the National Coordinating Secretary of the organization several years later. When the 10th year assessment of WIN showed less impact than we desired, and the direction the organization was beginning to tow less about the position of women, Bene and I decided to catch girls young for gender equality. We stepped out of WIN and founded Girls Power Initiative in 1993, thus beginning a journey where we had the room to fashion with the girls the premier comprehensive sexuality education curriculum and activities for girls in Nigeria. Over the last 30 years, we have used this platform to replicate ourselves in the tens of thousands of young feminists and activists found today in several states of Nigeria and beyond. Her work with the International Reproductive Rights Research Action Group, IRAD, a 7-country group where she coordinated the Southeast arm in Nigeria, underscored her commitment to issues of bodily integrity and autonomy, as well as reproductive justice, causes that remain at the heart of feminist activism today. A tireless fighter, she actively participated in the meetings that culminated in both the Rio Conference, Cairo Conference, Beijing Conference, among several others, but I'm specifically mentioning these three because she ensured that women's voices and concerns fashioned the language of the conference documents, and several post-conference sessions years later in spaces like the Commission on the Status of Women. She worked with other feminists to ensure that the gains of these major conferences were not lost during review processes. As concerned about the local as the global, Bene worked with women in local communities of Akwa Ibom and Cross River states to ensure understanding and action to improve their positions, specifically on issues of sexual and reproductive health rights. Perhaps one of her most enduring contributions was the co-founding of Girls Power Initiative, an organization that has for over 3 decades nurtured young feminists and equipped them with the tools to challenge oppression and create possibilities. GPI is not just an organization, it is a movement, a community, and a testament to the founder's vision for a world where young women are empowered to lead and to demand justice. Through GPI, Bene's feminist legacy lives on to inspire generations to come. As our studies have shown, that graduates of GPI do not necessarily enroll their daughters in GPI because in walking the talk of feminism while grooming their children, their sons and daughters grow up to become activists for social change. Bene's approach to activism was as unique as it was impactful. She was a lover of songs and believed deeply in their power to unite and inspire. She often used songs as a tool for education and engagement, incorporating it into the activities of GPI to foster connection and convey powerful messages. GPI girls, we have a booklet of songs that has many songs with weddings from Bene's heart. Her meticulous attention to detail was legendary. She didn't just delegate tasks. She ensured that each one was executed with care and precision, setting a standard of excellence that inspired those around her. She was open to new ideas and willing to adapt her strategies to better serve the causes that she championed. Her kindness, resilience, and unshakable belief in the power of collective action made her a mentor to many and a source of strength for all who knew her. We have lost a shining star, and I have lost a sister friend with whom I shared many journeys in the last 40 years. Why are we lived in service of justice, equality, and the unwavering pursuit of a better world? Bene's life work demands that we pick up the baton that she has passed on to us. This gathering is not just about remembering, it is also about recommitting. As we reflect on her life, we must ask ourselves, how do we build on the foundation that she laid? How do we ensure that the feminist ideals she championed remain at the forefront of our collective struggle? And how do we, as individuals and as a community, push forward with the same courage, resilience, and meticulous care that defined Bene's approach? Today, we will engage in conversations that challenge us, inspire us, and compel us to act. We will reflect on the progress we have made and confront the work that still lies ahead. Bene's unwavering belief in the power of collective action reminds us that our strength lies not in isolation, but in solidarity. Together, we can confront the systemic inequalities that persist, address the injustices that harm the most vulnerable, and build a future that aligns with the principles Bene so fiercely upheld. In her honor, let us listen deeply, speak boldly, and act with purpose. Let us remember that the work of feminism is never done, and that every step forward is a tribute to those who came before us and a gift to those who will come after us. As we engage in dialogue and action today, let us carry with us the memory of a woman who believed in the possibility of a just and equitable world and who dedicated her life to making that vision a reality. Momsy B, your life was a beacon of hope, courage, and unwavering commitment to justice. Your work has changed lives, and your spirit will continue to inspire us for generations to come. Rest on, dear Bene. rest in peace, knowing that your light shines on in the lives you have touched and the causes you championed. I thank everyone present here for your commitment and for your courage. Together, let us honor Bene's memory by advancing her mission and continuing her work. Let us leave here today inspired, united, and ready to carry forward her legacy. Thank you very much.
Okay, last but not the least on the panelist is Dr. Ayesha Imam. She will be joining us virtually. The technical crew, please can you confirm that Dr. Ayesha Imam is online? She can hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
I
thank
hear
you
you.
very much. Thank you for joining in. She's also another very so
I can't hear.
as far as women emancipation and the concern. So thank you very much for joining. Okay, I'm glad she can hear us. Okay.
Yes,
So
I
I'll be
can hear you.
starting with Ndodie. Yes. Let me start with you. Please, can you share a personal memory or moments that summarizes who Professor Bene is to you?
Is that me, Aisha?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the privilege to be here. Mom CB just finished her presentation on why we are here, and she talked about songs. So this is going to be an unusual panel that will start with a song. Oh, GPI made known to us so many things we never knew. We never knew we were so important, but you gave to us all we need to live a fulfilled life. Gone are the days when women were not heard in the society.
In the society.
We were
so inferior.
as inferior, heard in the society. We were regarded as inferior. But God's power to stand up for our rights. How can we be deprived of our human rights? Oh, now that and we are, thanks to God's power initiative. Oh, Madunagu can. And so we can't be speaking about Bene and our memories with her without singing songs, as you have heard. And for me, these are clearly memories that will live with me for the rest of my life and even to the generations yet to come. I met Bene in the early 2000s. Immediately I finished from university. I came there, just we live and breathe what Bene has taught us. My famous issues that I can remember about Bene is involved with friendliness and GPI has to be sustained. So she wasn't only thinking about now, and that's why she created a system. She ensured that we all lived what we believed in. And she consciously also made us to understand the principles of feminism. And for me, in 2000, when we started the work with her, the first thing I came in there was when we were talking about, there was the legislative advocacy around ending child marriage and female circumcision in Nigeria. And one of the things that that brought me is to her issues of cultural as a principle. And we worked around that very seriously. The first thing she will always tell me is, Andy, because that's how she calls me. Andy, do this, do that, do this. And some of us think that it is punishment, but she's doing that to build you up. And when she has given you so much work to do, she will come and meet you and say, Andy, must I kill a willing horse? But she was consciously building us up. And I tell people that you can't meet Bene Madunagu and be the same. It is not possible. You cannot. So my famous memories about her, around the work that we do. She will drill you. You will work. But in the process, you will enjoy the work. And you will know that you're getting value for the things that you are doing. So for me, those are my famous memories, the songs and the work that we do. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Next, I'll quickly go to Dr. Ayesha Imam. Dr. Ayesha Imam, are you still with us?
I am.
Okay, thank you so very much. The next question will be targeted at you. How has Prof Bene influenced your own feminist journey or activism? Has she influenced your feminist journey or activism in any way? We would love to hear that.
I think that Bene and I grew together. We influenced each other. We worked together in so many organizations. Women in Nigeria, we were both on the first and second executive committees, and she took over from me as the coordinating secretary when I left in '87, in the African Feminist Forum, in the Nigerian Feminist Forum, in the African Association of Women and for Research and Development, in the Development of Alternatives for Women for a New Era. She was also kind enough to sit on the board of Baobab for Women's Human Rights while I was the director. And that was during the time that things were really hot with the political Sharianization and the criminal codes. So, and in each of those organizations or associations, networks, we helped to develop and build, I think, our understandings of feminism, socialism, Pan-Africanism, political activism. And I think that Grace and Asma'u and Miro and others will testify that we worked, all of us together, to grow a feminism that was African, materialist, radical, that challenges gender oppression, class exploitation, racism, imperialism, and other discriminatory and oppressive systems without subsuming one for the other. Well before the discourse of intersectionality was developed, we in Women in Nigeria were doing it. We were recognizing that an individual is not just a woman or just a peasant, but also a mother, a citizen, heterosexual or not, and all of them at the same time, with the social relations of each category combining in different ways, so that You couldn't just talk about, we'll only address one issue, because that would not address the whole person. That would not address the whole society. Gender never manifests in pristine splendor. It's always present in conjunction with other social and economic relations. So a woman is not just a woman, she's also at the same time, for example, a peasant, Hausa, Muslim, heterosexual or not, living in neo-colonial Nigeria. So a frequent metaphor is to see each of those sets of relations as a thread, but how they interweave in particular people's lives presents different patterns of cloth. And you can't just snip one, you have to address all of them together. We have to look at politics and state power relations in the light of how they affect particular women, particular peasants, and so on. So Grace was saying she was focusing on how Bene was first and foremost a feminist. No ifs, no buts. But the thing we also need to remember is that at the same time as Bene was a feminist, she was also a trades unionist. So she was a feminist who looked after workers' rights. She was also a Marxist. So she was a feminist like us, all of us, who looked at the way that Nigeria was enmeshed in neo-colonial relationships and in exploitation by big capitalists, all at the same time. So, and I'm hoping to have the time to come back later to talk about advice to today's feminists, or if you prefer, I'll do that now. So I'm asking the moderator.
Thank you very much. Okay. I've been told to just finish up with you because of the network. So
Okay. So
I
let
don't
me
know if you don't mind. I would love to ask you, what advice or guidance do you have to offer to today's feminists or young people who are fighting social justice? What advice or guidance can you offer to today's feminists or social justice advocates?
Okay, thank you. I think first and foremost, it's just do it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for people to give you space. Hello? Don't wait for people to give you space. Make your own space. There's no need, just the same, to badmouth or despise those who went before you because they weren't perfect. But there's also no need to follow people slavishly because you admire them and they've done so well. Study what they've done in their time, because there's no need to reinvent the wheel, and then take what works for your context, for your struggle, and move on with it and develop it. You can acknowledge the past without being bound by it or despising it. But I think this is the second point. Remember to consider the impact of what you do and say on other struggles and social relations. We can't all work on every issue at the same time. Sometimes we have to focus. But we can be careful that the way that we are working on issue A does not push back issue B. And that means that we really need to be careful to form alliances with others in social justice struggles, the people who are working on some other aspect, so that we are informed, so that we know how to work in solidarity to push our joint struggles forward. So, and then on a personal note, we have to be careful not to be self-indulgent, but we also have to be kind to ourselves. This is a long struggle. It's taken how many centuries to get us to this place of class exploitation, gender oppression, systematic racism, neocolonialism. It's not going to be something that we solve today or tomorrow. So we have to be around. We have to be around for the long haul. Life is serious, but don't allow oppressors and oppression to leach the color out of your life. Give and take joy along the way. And I can just hear Bene laughing. She had this really earthy, deep laugh. Hey, be happy, people. Take what you can get. with blessings.
Thank you very much. This is a round of applause. Key highlights: lead by example, take on every opportunity, join networks and coalitions, work together and not working alone. Thank you so very much for that. At this point, we are going to...
Sincere apologies once again. Because of the network connectivity issues we're having, we're just going to have to keep our panelists, our physical panelists here a little longer so that we can go over to the people waiting virtually for goodwill messages so they can take their goodwill messages. I see that Kole Shetima is online. I see Bernadette Muthien is online. So we could kick off with Bernadette Muthien. Let's have your goodwill message. If you can hear me, we'll have your goodwill message. And after that, we'll go to Kole and then Ngozi Were.
Thank you so very much. It's a privilege for me to be here today and to hear the wisdoms of my sister's Grace and my elder sister Aisha, very wise. Bene was so many things, and Aisha's tribute to her in particular was so deep and so so moving. I want to post it on our social media to educate younger people, especially about it. So all of the things that she was, one forgot that she was a scientist, a professor, scholar, activist. She was even royal in South Africa. Royals, you know, get a lot of money from the state for taxes, and they behave, you know, you have to say HRH, her or his Royal Highness. But, you know, I didn't even know Bene was descendant of royalty. She was a development alternatives with women in a new era dawn guru. And in these contexts, I had met her as a younger feminist, intersectional feminist activist. And for me, the humility is what moved me most about her. She was so profoundly humble and accessible. And from there, one can learn so many, many things, because we are all often, you know, struggling with our egos, but to emulate the humility and the accessibility of Bene and that beautiful, welcoming, warm smile that just drew in. And so from the very first minute I'd met her, I just loved her. And her eyes were so kind and promised such, you know, made promises of like, don't worry, you know, things will be better in the end if we keep struggling. And I'm astonished at how long Bene had been struggling, because I'm part of Generation X, so a younger generation than Bene, and I honor her life. So I have a poem which is called Fragile, I would share with you. And following on from my very, very short poem, I would like to read the tribute sent by Vivian Taylor, who was one of Aisha and Bene's sisters in Dawn, Development Alternative Women in the Era, and many other feminist spaces. So if you'll indulge me with a very short poem, and then I'll read Professor Vivian Taylor's tribute she sent to Grace and I in the night. She's traveling and unable to join us, but I hope she can check into the Facebook live feed, which I've posted online. So the poem is Fragile, and it goes like this. In your eyes that shift with the anxieties of these times, I see the deepest compassion imaginable for the perpetrators in all we are, the survivor victims we're forced to be. In your wide open gaze, I see reflected my very own soul, and for your single act of kindness, I offer you my fragile heart. I wrote this about 20 years ago, and I offer it to our space here. I will now follow with the tribute written by, sent by Professor Vivian Taylor, a tribute to Professor Bene Madunagu, Vivian Taylor, former chair of Dawn's board, and she writes, "It is a privilege to pay our respects and make this input in memory of Prof Bene Madunagu. I met and worked with Bene Madunagu for many years while we were both part of development alternatives with Women for a New Era, Dawn. Dawn is a transnational network of women scholars and activists from the economic South working for economic and gender justice and sustainable and democratic development. Bene brought to Dawn her groundbreaking work on sexual and reproductive health and rights, and she spoke humbly of herself as an educator on human sexuality and an advocate for women and girls' sexual and reproductive health and rights. Importantly, since Dawn's establishment in 1985, she was the first general coordinator from Africa and served Dawn in this capacity during the period 2004 to 2008. There are many aspects of Bene that are remarkable. I will focus on just 3 features that left an indelible imprint on me and on many with whom she worked. First, she unapologetically claimed her roots as an African feminist at a time when feminism was a dirty word both at home and globally, and one could be attacked for doing so. Bene's brand of feminism was about the struggles to achieve democracy, gender equality, social and environmental justice. She had the courage of her convictions. Second, in the wake of neocolonial capitalist globalization in the late 80s and 90s, she framed her work on women and girls' rights and justice within a radical socialist perspective. Given the triumphalism of capitalist globalization at the time and the weakening of the socialist project, this was again going against the trend. Her belief that social and gender justice should be rooted in the collective well-being of all and not just a few elite resonated with me. Third, Bene believed in the development and empowerment of young women and girls as critical in achieving gender equality. She led by example through her work in Girls Power Initiative, in Dawn, and in many other activities. We salute Bene as a veteran of feminist activism and radical socialism and know that her legacy will live on through her writings and through those with whom she worked. Our thanks go to Bene's family, friends and comrades for sharing Bene with us over many decades. That was Professor Vivian Taylor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bernadette Muthien. Would like to please crave the indulgence of our virtual participants to keep the goodwill messages short and keep it at 2 minutes so that we can have many people share their thoughts as well. We'll go over now quickly to Kole Shetima for his goodwill message.
Thank you, moderator, comrades, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, it was my plan to be at this event. I even got my ticket. Unfortunately, I got stuck in another part of the world, and therefore I'm not able to join you in person. But certainly be assured that with you in spirit at this very solemn but also important occasion to celebrate our comrade who have passed away. Many of us have different relationship with Bene, and we all also have multiple relationship with Bene as well. For me, I think that as one of the early members of Women in Nigeria, that was my first encounter with Bene. Was Dawn, Development Alternatives for Women in New Era. Of course, when I joined the MacArthur Foundation, I was fortunate to have the opportunity to also support the work that GPI is doing. I talked to a number of my colleagues at the MacArthur Foundation who have known Bene. So I will say that my comments will also be the comments of Carmen Barroso, one of our early early directors, Lenny Silberstein, our program officer at some point, Karen Grown, one of our program officers at some point, Judith Helsner, Aaron Sainz, and of course, Amina Salih, who have also joined us. I think that Bene's commitment to girls is certainly unprecedented because of her work and all that she has been doing. I always ask Bene, what is the most important impact of GPI? And she always reminds me with a very simple answer that none of our girls have ever got pregnant. That statement is, to me, is a mark of the kind of work that, foundations and founders, usually ask for all kinds of metrics about, what is right, blah, blah, metrics and all kinds of things that we ask. But that, to me, that statement of none of our girls have ever gotten pregnant is the kind of illustration of the values of who Bene is and our commitment of that. And I'm sure there will be many GPI girls who will provide their own testimonies. But I personally found that I've come across so many GPI girls across the country, and all of them are outstanding girls. I think the most recent one was the president of the student union government of University of Calabar, who I met, I think, in October last year. And I think that the impact of the work that people like Bene and of course Grace and others in GPI have done is the kind of impact that I think we need in our country to create the generation of young women who will lead us in this country, but also in the continent as well. I think my last meeting with Bene, probably, I think Eddie will remember that more than myself, maybe about 2019, just before the pandemic, was a very, I'm reflecting back. I'm just saying that I'm so happy that I was able to meet her before the pandemic, and since the pandemic, our travels have become so difficult. But I was touched by the way in which I think that more than any one of us, I think AD have really taken on this responsibility of working with her and providing the kind of comrade relationship and support, which is really, really unprecedented in my view, is something that I think that we all see as a good example of a comrade relationship that we see or we should have in our society as well. So to Eddie, I think this is a celebration of Bene, but I think it's also a celebration of what you have also done in your own partnership with our comrade as well. And thank you very much for the opportunity to say a word or two. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kole Shetima. While that was going on, we had the DVC admin, Unico, join us, Professor Enonta. Please put your hands together for him. You're welcome, Prof. We would go over now to the next goodwill message, and that will be taken by Ngozi Iwere.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. I think that for me, reflecting on Bene's legacy, what I would rather want to share, or what I'm taking away, is how to sustain her legacy. I met Bene in the late 1970s as a comrade in the socialist Marxist community. And the greatest inspiration that I have, in addition to everything that's been said, is how Bene and Grace have been able to create a critical mass of young feminists. I think this is something we grapple with. So the work of GPI needs to be scaled, not only within the country, but outside the country, in other parts of Africa. We talked about her Pan-Africanism. I think that this is a model or something that we should support in solidarity and make sure that we take it. We are all struggling with how to have intergenerational conversations, how to mentor, and so on. I think here we have something that is there and it's ready to go to scale and adaptable to local contexts. The second is, how do we keep conversations going, maybe annually, you know, in memory of what Bene has done as a legacy, and how do we get other communities outside the country, feminist communities, to be part of this kind of annual legacy, you know, and legacy conversations going forward, you know, after today. I think for me, this is what I'm taking away, and one would be willing to work with others in solidarity on this. So thank you so much for the conversation. Bene, my sister and my comrade and my friend, lives on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ngozi Iwere. And thank you too to our very understanding panelists. Thank you for sitting through with us. We'll go back now to the panel sessions before we go back to our virtual panelists over there.
All right, thank you very much. Sometimes you plan, but situations on ground make you edit. So we are going to go back to our sharing, and I promise you in no time, we will be out of this. Okay, let me move on to Professor Hawaii. Or can I just proceed? Okay, let's proceed, ma. What role did Professor Bene, what do you think? What role do you think Professor Bene played to mentor younger feminists? What role do you think, what specific or what innovative role do you think she played to mentor young feminists who had the opportunity to either work with her or come in contact with her?
Well, thank you very much. Let me stand on the already established protocol. Well, when you talk about young feminists, I think we are all beneficiaries of her mentorship. I consider her as an extraordinary woman. When we met during the WIN era, she would say, Hawa, how did you come all the way from Maiduguri? I say, I came by road. That was in Lagos. By road, I said, yes. So you say, oh, how did you, are you not afraid to go by? I said, no problem. Then, you know, gradually, she started, I became very close to her because I saw her as somebody who was going to be a role model to me. One, being an academic, and I'm also coming from the academic sector, she always asked me, I hope you have organized your lectures before leaving the university. Have you organized yourself with the students before coming to the university, coming for this meeting? I said, of course I have done that. In the evenings, I used to go to her room. She'll ask me, okay, what about writing? Because that time I had already done my PhD. Have you been making publications? I would say, yes. Send me some of the publications you have made. So she mentored me to even know how to write papers for publication. They should ask, when is your promotion coming out? I say, well, I just got my promotion to be a reader. Oh, congratulations. That went on and on. Then it came to this issue of, because she was also very, very active in ASU. She would say, are you not part of ASU? I say, I'm part of ASU. Have you ever contested for any position? I say, no. go and contest. So when I went and contested, I told her I got a position. She said, which one? I said, treasurer. Why treasurer? Why must you go for treasurer? I said, they didn't even allow me. I had to suffer before I got that position of being a treasurer. So I said, let's begin from there. I said, okay, no problem. Next time, go and contest for the chairmanship of the your University of Maiduguri. I said, okay, I will. She didn't know what I went through to become that treasurer. So then, so we continued on and on and on. Then after that, she said, what else do you want to go and do? I said, well, I want to go and contest to be the dean. And I became the first treasurer, female treasurer in the university, ASU, that time. There was never a woman given that opportunity. But through her mentorship, I got it. And I became the first ASU treasurer in University of Maiduguri. That came on and on. One time I was in Enugu on accreditation. So some people called me and said, I should come and contest for the position of the dean of my faculty. So I called her. I said, this is what I've asked you to come and do. I've never seen any dean, a female dean. Should I go? She said, go. And then she guided me. And alhamdulillah, I'm the first female dean of University of Maiduguri through her mentorship. And then on the issue, I don't want to go too deep on the issue of activism. I learned a lot from her. In fact, in Maiduguri, not even in my university, when they mention however, they say, that activist, that gender activist, and all this I got through her and Aisha Imam. So, alhamdulillah, we are celebrating her, not mourning her. And what I'm sure you're going to ask me a second question. I'll answer that before you ask me. My advice is, those of us in the academics, let's start to mentor the younger ones. I've been doing that in my university. Let's mentor them. I have a lot of activists, both men and women, in the University of Maiduguri. And whenever they call, if the management wants to do something and they say, who is the person that, they mention the name of that's Professor Howard Camp, leave them alone. So please, let's mentor our younger ones and carry them along. Let's not be selfish. Let's not be hiding knowledge. We should share knowledge with everyone we see so that we can one day be celebrated the way we are celebrating our Auntie B. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Ma. And now to Mrs. Adenike Eshet. Who was Bene to you? And how can we ensure that her contributions are adequately recognized beyond what we are doing here today?
Thank you very much. I met Bene 34 years ago. I had just left the Guardian newspapers. She was in Wien, and this was 1991. And I was in Action Health Incorporated, just founded Action Health Incorporated. And we were both working in partnership with the International Women's Health Coalition. I was immediately struck by her articulation of her convictions on the issues of women's equality. And I was immediately drawn to that, and we became friends for life. A few years after, both she and Mrs. Grace Osakwe approached me about this idea they were nurturing to start an organization advancing women's health and rights. I was dumbfounded. Two Amazons coming to ask me, my own thoughts or reflections about how to go about the work. But this was just the core nature of Bene and her character. So it was not a surprise when a few years down the line, she invited me to be her mentor on the MacArthur Foundation Fund for Leadership Fellowship. She made it a very easy journey. I don't know how someone who doesn't have a master's mentors a professor. But that was what she did with me. She made the journey very easy. She took feedback very calmly and took it to heart. She was never late with her reports, periodic reports that she had to write to me that I would then approve to send on to the foundation. And so I found someone who I could speak with. I was never in the feminist movement as it is defined, even though I know that this is what my work is. And I would always go to Bene anytime I found myself in a political brouhaha or logjam, because she always had strategies to get out. Many meetings we went for, and we traveled a lot together to China, Mozambique, South Africa, Brazil, on these issues of advancing women's health and rights. But I remember particularly our travels in Vienna Cafe, underground cafe in the United Nations. Bene had humor. She would never fail to laugh at men in dresses. Do you know men in dresses? She would never fail to laugh at priests in cassocks, who were the ones we were battling with in our advocacy for access to sexuality education for girls. She would say, what do men in dresses know about the issues that women are trying to deal with? And she had this witty, sarcastic sense of humor to get them off our track. And there were so many experiences like this that I would forever remember Bene for. In the journey for sexuality education advocacy in Nigeria, I did not wait to run to Bene and Grace and a number of people in this room, Josephine Efa, in the 90s, when we had to face government counterparts to say that it is enough. Our young people need to have access to sexuality education on the school curriculum. She was a strong warrior, a convicted compatriot who did not have any shame or excuse to give anybody who had anything. She never suffered fools lightly. And she made a great case for work to go on in Nigeria. So just to move on to what advice or, the legacy. For me, it's to remind all of us, because if I look at myself when we started Action Health, 26 years old myself, now 62, going to 62 in a few more months, it's not a sprint. It's a long journey. A journey you have to be committed to. You'll make strides. You'll also have many rollbacks. But there's always light at the end of the tunnel. That's what Bene has shown us. That's what we can't lose sight of. We need one another. Our various struggles, no one needs to legitimize it to us. We know and we are convicted, and we should work on those convictions. This is my message for the younger generation.
Thank you so very much. So last but not the least, Ndode, what is your advice to?
After Madam Nike has said, I don't know what I'm going to say again, because we are part of the rope. Bene mentored a lot of us, were the other generation after. And I remember then there used to be the older generation and then our generation. I'll be talking about what the older ones haven't done for us and what is left to be done. So there's usually, when we report back, there's usually, so now the question for me is, the older generation has done for me. What will I do for the next generation? And I think that is where the continuity is. And I had said it before now that Bene consciously built a system and thought about sustainability. And that's why she invested in people like us. So it is left for us to also consciously invest in the next generation so that we have a continuity. So for me, that is very critical moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In summary, who was Bene? Bene was an activist. She loves plants. She loves singing. She was a mentor. She was a mentee. She was a writer. She was a good presenter, a mother, a teacher, very compassionate. Most importantly, she gave opportunity to everybody that came her way, be it young, old, small, or big. That was who Bene was. And today we are celebrating her lives and time. And we say that may her revolutionary spirit live on. Thank you so very much to the panelists. Thank you, Ayesha, who joined us online. And I hope you have learned one or two from this discussion. Thank you very, very much. We have come.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of that panel session. One more time, put your hands together for our very amazing panelists. Can the panelists just hold on for a photograph? Please hold on. The photographer will come to you for a photograph. In the meantime, we're going to go back to our online sessions, our online participants, and take goodwill messages from there. But let me very quickly recognize the presence of His Highness Ndabu Emmanuel E. Duke of a Fudekundu clan. Please put your hands together for him. He's here in our midst. Thank you very much for being here with us today, sir. So we'll quickly go over to our virtual participants and take a goodwill message from Mario Bello. Mayro Bello.
Yes,
And
I'm
while she
here.
gets ready for her session. Okay,
I'm
great.
here. Thank you for being there for us. And I will start by saying that, first and foremost, Bene is a good human being. And that's the most important thing that we should be looking out for, and young people should look out for. Because being everything, if you are not a good human being, you may miss the point. This is a woman that will remind you of your own obligations, whether it's religious, whether it's just societal obligation, even though she doesn't believe in what you are doing, but she makes sure that because you believe it, you keep to it. So for me, it's amazing. I pray 5 times a day. It's Bene who will remind me that, look, you haven't gone to say that your prayer. Grace Osakwe here fast often. It's Bene who will remind her of her fasting period. So if you look at all those things, you will know that you just have to be a good human being to accommodate people the way they are, and to not to judge people by whatever standards you have. The other thing is that Bene is a comrade to the core. I remember when we were in trouble in Wien, she was my pillar of strength because I was the treasurer then and I was dragged left, right, and center. It's Bene who will say, you are doing the right thing. If you are doing the right thing and you are sure, just stand on that principle. Let's continue. And that saw us through, even though we were dragged almost in the mud. But because she believed in what we were doing, I stood by what we were doing. And of course, we came out of it with our lives because it was becoming dangerous at a point. So I think those are the 2 things that I have seen in Bene, apart from all the other things that people have mentioned. She's a good human being. And these are the things that we don't find in people these days, to be a good human being. And she's a true comrade. And when she supports with her heart, not just with her lips. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I would like to request that Abiola please be on standby, but we'll take a breather from the virtual sessions and come over here now to the physical gathering. And we'll be taking the next goodwill message from the Honorable Commissioner for Women Affairs, Honorable Edema Irom, who is here with us. Please put your hands together for her as she comes forward. Please clap like you're clapping for the commissioner. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I don't have much to say other than Professor Bene Madunagu. for us as a ministry will always be remembered. The reason why we are here as Ministry of Women Affairs, one of the women who fought for Ministry of Women Affairs is Professor Bene Madunagu. I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to be a commissioner elsewhere. I remember growing up, we were 4 daughters. We used to live at Main Avenue when we came in to Nigeria. And it was like, what are you going to do with 4 girls? We were always walking from Main Avenue to Goldie. We would all just go and sit there and watch them without even knowing so much. Just seeing her was okay for some of us. And today, we are here celebrating this great woman. I want to key into the words of Ndode. We've had Professor Bene Madunagu. We are here. How about the next generation? I think that is what we should be looking at. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. I also support the Honorable Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs sitting somewhere there, Honorable Helen Isamo. Please put your hands together for her. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us today. I'll quickly go over now to take another goodwill message from a virtual participant, and I'll be taking that from Abiola Akiode. Please put your hands together.
Very yeah. Um, all right. Can you hear me?
Okay, we are struggling to hear you, Abiola.
Can you hear me, please?
Okay, we'll just request that you take a break so that we'll go over to Ihoma Obibi, and when she's done, we'll come back to you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's really a great opportunity to be here to celebrate the life and time of our big sister. I had the opportunity of knowing her around the year 2000, and I think I also once or twice I traveled down to Calabar to pay her a visit. And every time that you spend with Professor Bene has always been time to always remember the lessons. I've learned quite a lot of lessons from her. She has been such inspiration for the work that I do. And it's really so sad that this will happen, but we're happy for the legacy that she left behind. We are proud to be called our mentees. We are proud to learn from our articles. We are proud to learn from our practice. We're very proud of being a feminist like her, because she had shown us, what a feminist should be like. So I want to join others to eulogize this great woman and to also say that we will miss her. May she rest in power. May she rest in power. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Biola. I think we'll take a break from the virtual participants yet again and come back right here. A little bit just whispered to me that the Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs is a former GPI girl. That deserves another round of applause. And at this point, I would just like to invite her to come over here and say something about the late professor. Just a brief goodwill message from you, ma'am. Please clap for the commissioner. She's coming.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am glad to be here to honor our late mother, late Professor Bene Madunagu. I was a mentee, just like a whole lot of young women that are seated here today. I may not have worked closely with her, but I was a student and I was greatly impacted. And I'm sure from the many lessons I learned from GPI that helped in shaping and preparing me to even the status I occupy today in Cross River State as one of the honorable commissioners today. And I've always ensured that from the many lessons I learned in GPI, I will continue to step down those lessons to the younger girls and other generations that are coming after us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. I've heard a lot of us talk about stepping down to the other generation, and it is important for us to note that we have students from secondary schools and tertiary institutions here. Can the students please rise up? Let's recognize them for a bit. Just rise up and wave. Students from tertiary and secondary schools that GPI in collaboration with Project Alert are implementing a sexual violence prevention project with. Thank you. Going over now to the next panel session. And like I said, we've said so much about the future generation. And this session is going to be focusing on the making of future Benes, an intergenerational conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the panelists. Emilia Okun, put your hands together as they come forward. We have Josephine Efa Chukuma. Please put your hands together for them. We have Ihoma Obibi, who will be joining virtually. And we have Laura Uwangwe. The moderator for that session is Bumi Dikpo Salami. While they are going up on stage to have that session, I'd like to request okay, please pardon me for a bit. Our panelists, please hold on just for a bit and let us take this presentation by GPI alumni just for a moment. It's an interlude. So let's put our hands together for the GPI alumni who will be coming up here to take this interlude. Can we have them here, please?
All 32 years of alumni. Grace, that's like a whole nation.
That's what years benefit you with. Yeah, 30 years. We have girls who are in the center.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone. If you are seated here and you were once a GPI girl, can we see you come out here? Hello. GPI has produced many women, and the few seated here are just a little of women that GPI has produced. We have come from many cities around Nigeria to say thank you to Mom CB for putting a smile in our faces, for making us what we are today. I could share a little experience with you, friends. I was born and brought up in a community where girls were not regarded. I'm 43 years old this year. I joined GPI when I was 10 years old. I come from a society where 70 out of 100% of the young girls were pregnant in the adolescent age. And here I am today, one of the most successful among the 9 children of my mother, courtesy of this beautiful woman. Please put your hands together for Professor Bene Madunagu. All of us standing here, we have our stories to tell. But we might not really want to go into the stories, but to tell you that the vision has produced many women around the world. A lot of us are doing successfully well. And you can see the beautiful faces here. They're all smiling. And I believe they also have their stories to tell. Let me hand over to my sister Agatha. And it's a kind of a reunion for us because many faces we've not seen in many years. You can imagine over 30 years of seeing some of our girls, 20 years of seeing some of our girls. It's a thing of joy. Agatha, what do you have to say?
I'm very, very proud to be a product of Girls Power Initiative. Today I can stand up for my right. Today I'm able to speak on say I am a presenter. I run a lot of activities. Sometimes people wonder how you're able to face crowd without intimidation. You can speak your mind. You can say how things the way it is. So today we want to make a song in honor of Mom CB, and everybody knows the song. I feel just right in the skin I wear. Mom CB has made us feel right in the in the skin we wear. So before we do that song, let's give an opportunity to the SUG president outgone for her to say something.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Blessing Alims, and I am a proud graduate of GPI. 2015, to be precise. Momsy B has done a whole lot. One thing that stayed with me and is still with me is you can become whatever you want to become. And Auntie Andy was one of my facilitators. Auntie Helen Kalu, the coordinator, Comfort Ikpeme, Auntie Emilia, and every others that I can't mention their name. They groomed us in a way that our mentality was shaped that as a woman, you are not limited. As a woman, you can get whatever you want to be. And that ideology stayed with me. Even when I got into the university, I had that in me. Beginning from year one, they said a woman cannot attend the office of, is it class rep? And I told them it cannot be. I was fought till I got it. And when class rep was banned, I told myself it is a good time for me to become SCG president. Yes, it was a time for me to step up, and I stepped up with the support of everyone around me. I emerged as the first female SCG president, University of Calabar. A very big shout out to the first female vice chancellor and also the DVC administration, beautifully seated there. Women, women, women.
Thank you so much. You have heard it. And we did not finish there. Most of the girls that were produced by Girls Power Initiative have come up to also mentor younger girls. We have a whole lot of them that are in the center currently doing well. We can talk about Bassi. She was part of us, and now she's a coordinator. She's a staff in Girls Power Initiative. We can talk about Comfort Ikpeme, who is the current coordinator of Girls Power Initiative.
Okay, just to say that it is a thing of joy that as Momsy B stepped out of the shoe, a GPI graduate stepped inside.
I think as a GPI graduate, as a one-time personal assistant to Momsy, I'm so proud of all that she did for us. And on that note, we say,
Feel just right in the skin I wear. There's no one like me anywhere. I have feelings that you do too. I love to share. I feel with you. Sometimes I'm happy and sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes I'm scared and sometimes I'm not. The most important thing you see is that I'm proud of being me. I feel just right in the skin I wear. There's no one like me anywhere. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Men unto us so many things we never knew. We never knew we were so important. But you get to
Thank you very much, GPI girls. Let's give them another round of applause. I think they deserve it all. Somebody said GPI girls are whatever they say. Salami. Please put your hands together for our panelists. They are going to be talking about the making of future banners, and it's going to be an intergenerational conversation. Who's hosting?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are all here and we are all happy because we are celebrating. Although we will miss her, we are already missing her because her shoes are even too big for us to fill. So we will only attempt to keep the fire burning. We will only attempt to try to emulate Bene Madunagu. There cannot be any other Bene. Any other Bene is a counterfeit. If not be Panadol, you know, if it be the same thing as Panadol. But we are comforted, we are happy because she gave us so much. We listened to the first panel. It was also intergenerational because you had women across different generations talk about what, you know, how their lives have been, how they got their encounters with Bene. So we are moving to this panel. We have Emilia, we have Laura. Emilia is a GPI alumna, 1999. Laura is a GPI baby. She's a Bene baby, right? Which year? 2010. You can see that. Josephine is a mentee, is a sister, younger sister, lover of Bene, well loved by Bene. Ihioma should be online. I haven't seen her. I would like to see her face. Ihioma, where are you?
I'm right here.
Okay, please put her up on this TV, please. Thank you. So that we are all complete. And I am also a Bene mentee, a Bene sister, a Bene lover, and so we are here. She has deposited in all of us. How are we making the future Benes? We need to replicate Bene. There are some people that they come to the world and you pray that they never come back. You pray that you never get another one like that. You pray that nobody walks in their footsteps. But this is an icon. I can't even refer to her in the past. It's difficult for me. It's like she's still here with us. And I believe when we looked, we saw what the GPI girls presented, you will know that we have so many Benes with us. So I'll start with you, Emilia. Since 1999, you have been glued like super glue to Bene until the last. So what has kept you that way? Why did you do that?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's difficult to explain Bene from the point of view of a GPI girl and a GPI alumni. I remember being a GPI girl, the first thing I learned was I could be more than a wife and more than a mother. I learned that from Bene. That was the very first thing I knew. And that has kept me going. Aside all the big English of intersectionality, feminism, sexuality, and all that, the first thing you learn when you meet Bene is that you can be more. And Bene would always tell me as a GPI gate, challenge the status quo. You cannot go to school. Why not? Girls can't go to school. Why not? I do think that the ability to challenge the status quo has kept me glued, because I possibly maybe wouldn't have had the support that I have. It has kept me glued not just to Bene, but to GPI. GPI became like a second family for me. I've had friends, I've had sisters. Just like in your generation, we used to smile when we see your generation go for, outings, take pictures on Facebook. We have become sisters for life. The coordinator, Bassi Duke, and the rest of the other girls, we all grew up together. And when we find ourselves in difficult paths, they say, move back because you're a woman. I move back and they push me back. People like Ndo, they say you can't do it, go back. If I like strategies, they give it to me. So I would say I am so many things in the past year since 1999, but today I decided to say, you know what, to celebrate Professor Bene Madunagu, I would, refer to myself as a GPI graduate, one of those that would always remember the teachings, the things we stand for, the fact that we need more young women, more young girls to continue to push back on the issues that we are talking about. Honestly, I'm learning. One of the learnings I'm learning these days, I went for an activity, an event, and someone read my profile, really. And at some point, I wanted to stop the person and say, are you talking about me? Or you are talking about somebody else? And I was reminded to bask in my achievements. One of the things I can say for sure is that I have mentored young women. Proudly so. And some young women would say, if I have an issue, I'll call Madam Emilia, and she will respond. Be it an issue of sexual assault survivor, be it an issue of engagement, speaking to young girls, those coming personally to say, this is what I'm experiencing. Should I or shouldn't I do? More than 100 young women. The issue is continuous. Like I said, when people tell me the issue will fade away, I don't want to talk about the issues today. I will tell them, no, we have centuries to go and we need to prepare people for it. So I continue to use my platform, be it social media, wherever I find myself. Let me not mention the workplace, because they know that they say this is old hand. When they talk about gender advocates, they say, oh, these ones do them for a job, but you do it differently because you walk the talk. I learned from somebody who walked the talk. So we are different. We come from a very different stock, and I give back very freely.
Okay, so we are saying that wherever we find ourselves, we should remember to also raise the hands of other people, other young women, other feminists. All right. Iheoma, I'll address this to you. We cannot talk about Bene's legacy without mentioning building the feminist movement in Nigeria, in Africa, and even around the world globally. And as somebody who worked closely with Bene on the African Feminist Forum, on the Nigerian Feminist Forum platforms, how do you think, how are you carrying this forward? Your learnings from Bene in the course of your work in Africa and in Nigeria, how are you carrying this forward?
I think for me personally, it's been
It was a pleasure to work with Bene. I met Bene in the late 90s, early 2000, and then actually started working with her as we prepared for the 2008 Nigerian Feminist Forum. But prior to that, I had done some work with her on the African Feminist Forum. Menopause will not allow me to be great, but I can't remember all the other times that I worked with her as well. But we worked on lots of advocacies together. Our institutions, GPI, and the organization that I work for, Alliances for Africa. When it came to the indecent dressing bill that was almost passed several years ago, Bene was one of those that was in the forefront with us as we campaigned to ensure that the indecent dressing bill did not see the light of day. In relation to working with younger sisters, it's very important that the feminist movement has space and makes space for young people. I think I liked when Aisha spoke earlier and spoke about the relationship between the older sisters and the younger sisters. It is one of those very delicate balances where young ones come in and feel that the old ones haven't done it as well as they should have because there's no documented knowledge about it. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened. How can we improve that? How can we ensure that, because the young people nowadays, they use social media. They're feminists on social media. Many of them may not necessarily have the theory. Some of them don't walk the walk, just as we have elder sisters who don't walk the walk of feminism, but say they're feminists. How do we work with that? And I think for me, it's a constant pattern of ensuring that the narrative is clear, that the relationships are built, and you find a compromise, because the way the old school did it in those days is very different from the way the younger generation are fighting the fight on feminism, because they have such diverse opportunities to deal with it using social media and other tools. We didn't have those tools. We're learning those tools, while for many of them, it is the first place they go to. So I think our role really, as the elders, and if I'm honest, I'm not even an elder because I'm in the room with Asma Ojoda, I'm in the room with Aisha, I'm in the room with Hajia Bello. They're older than me, at least 20 years. I mean, they're at least 20 years older than me. And yet, so you can see the generational gap, because my big sister Aisha is at least 15 years older than me. Then they have the younger ones younger than me. So our relationships are all very different, but it is very, very, very important that our younger sisters know that we are there. I'm a mentor to quite a few, and I know that online I have at least 3 or 4 young mentees on this call this afternoon, because they believe in what we're doing, but also they feel comfortable enough to be here. Know that we're not going to talk down to them, but we're going to be holding our hands together to fight this fight. Because you see, the oppression we're facing has not changed from when we started. The oppression is still there, and is there for generations to come until we find a way to remove the structures that cause the oppression. And I don't know whether I've answered you as much as I can, but I know that this time is limited.
Okay, thank you, Ihioma. Thank you so much. Laura, you were here when during the last panel that Ndode said something that when you come in contact with Bene, your life will never remain the same. So, would you like to share with us how your life has not remained the same and how you are ensuring that those qualities, those values that Bene deposited in you, that you are also ensuring that whoever comes in contact with you is coming, indirectly coming in contact with Bene, and that their lives should not remain the same.
Thank you very much. And first, I'll like to say big thank you for the opportunity to be here. And to your question, yes, I would say I really do not have a very direct personal relationship with Bene, but just like when you talk about Bene, you're also talking about Grace Osakwe. I'm a graduate of GPI Benin, and I would say from the very day I met with this life-changing organization, my life completely transformed. You understand? Growing up in the midst of males, like I'm the only daughter of the family, and being raised in a broken home, it was like a terrible experience for me. But thank God, by the grace of God, I was able to meet with GPI. And ever since the day I met with this organization, everything about me transformed, starting from my confidence being built, the grooming I got from GPI. In fact, I don't know how to actually explain it. If I want to express myself, like express how I was completely transformed by this organization, I think I will use the entire day and will still be here. But then I will say GPI helped to build my voice. Like they gave me that voice I never had. All the intimidation I faced while growing up, by the time I met GPI, everything changed. And even those people that are just acquaintances, people who never knew me, they could testify to the transformation. And then being that I have gotten so much from the organization, I wasn't too selfish to keep it to myself. The environment, where my place of work, everywhere, even to my church, they felt the impact and they are still feeling the impact. And just to add, leaving GPI, being groomed by them, being empowered with personal skills and life management skills, I left for school and came back to work with this organization. I'm currently a facilitator in the organization, and I'm imparting in girls. I'm imparting in so many girls that I come across, being a facilitator, grooming these same girls with the information and skills I've been giving. I am also giving it to them, even my churches, and also wherever I find myself, I don't fail to make an impact, not just in the life of girls, but children as well, and women. They can testify to that. I want to say big thank you to GPI and the founders. Though one is late, we still have another Bene existing, and she has impacted in our life. She's a mommy to all, not just to our children and to the entire women that she comes across her. Every woman can testify that Grace Osakwe is our mommy. That's why you see everybody call her Momsy. So thank you, GPI, and thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, so back to you now, Josephine. We've heard here today that Bene helped everybody to be more. Wherever she met you, whether you're a Marxist, you're a feminist, you are an academic, you're in the NGO sector, you are a GPI girl, wherever you came across her, she helped people to be more. Not just women, men and women alike. So I'll turn to you. How did she help you to be more? And how are you helping others to be more? How are you passing the Bene fire, the Bene energy on?
Thank you very much, Bumi, for that. Thank you. I met and I loved Bene even before meeting her. My elder sister is here. She's a contemporary of Bene, Sister Paula. She's there. When women in Nigeria started, big sisters, talking about Iyoma. Iyoma, you're very right. We are here with our big sisters, and we also are here with our junior sisters. And it's going to be like that, and that's the way it should be. I was in the Netherlands for my master's degree, and I was supposed to travel down to Nigeria in 1992 for my research. 1993, I couldn't come because of the annulment of the elections and all the problems. My father, who was alive then, said, if you come back to Nigeria, you may not be able to go back again. And there I was very sad. My supervisor was Rennie Pitton. Aisha is here. Big sister Aisha Imam is here. Rennie Pitton, Aisha Imam, Benny, big sister Bene Madunagu, this lady that passed on in Kaduna in Saudi. They were about
Bilkisu
Yusuf. 4 or 5 of them were the ones that basically, because Women in Nigeria is the first organized feminist organization. Is the first. I'm not talking of associations like political associations. I'm talking of organized feminist organization. Women in Nigeria. Benny was there. So there I was. I couldn't come back. I was frustrated. Please, I'm sorry I'm taking a bit of, but I need to contextualize this. Talking about intergenerational. I couldn't come down to do my primary research. Rennie Pitton, I almost gave up. Rennie, may her soul rest in peace too. Rennie said to me, Josephine, if you give up, then you have contributed to the problem. And then she said to me, go look for materials written by Bene Madunagu, Aisha Imam, and myself and others. And I went and I took time and I read. And it is from these materials that I was able to actually work on my thesis. Honestly. And that was when I fell in love with these women. I come from a family of girls, 6 girls, talking about one of the GPI. And my father used to tell us, my senior sister is here, my elder sister, she's in her 70s, she's right here. My father told us, you can be anything you want to be in life. Just set your mind at it. And again, you can only be treated in a way you permit someone to treat you. That tacit permission must be there. So I refuse. And if you go on my Instagram page, and after Benny's Feminist No If No But, I said, I dare to be different. I dare to bring up feminist daughters. And I tell people, feminists make the best marriages. They know what they want. They know what they don't want. So when they see what they want, they don't waste time. And they don't waste time. Big brother Edwin, am I right or wrong? We know what we don't want. And once you don't know what you don't want, when you see what you want, you don't waste time. That's why some of us, we had 4 months courtship and we married. We didn't do 8 years, we didn't do 10 years, we didn't do 3 years. We did 4 months and we married. Do you understand? And then radical feminism. People keep saying that radical feminists are haters of men. The radical feminists are the ones who are, all sorts of things. Especially now with the social media, there's a lot of misunderstanding about that concept. And so some of us coming in and meeting bigger sisters like Benny, my elder sister is here, Rennie and all of that, Professor Jade Shola Akonde, my sister Nika Esiet. I was a younger person, but I admired this woman at Action Health Incorporated. Do you understand? They gave us the courage along with one's upbringing. And I said, okay, we are going to slug this out. And some of us have been slugging it. We are getting to 60 now. And we are still slugging it out. And so we are also deliberately, when you're talking about intergenerational, it has to be deliberate. It has to be intentional. It can't happen by mistake. And I tell people that the way it is, it's actually more frightening for a lot of us now. Just 2 days ago, a young girl's head was cut off. Another one, she was tied up like a chicken, ready for slaughter, before the man was apprehended. To God be the glory. You see, there's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of hatred for the female gender now, which is frightening. Honestly speaking, it's not, before we used to talk of patriarchy alone, but we are now dealing with narcissists, and you wonder what is going on. Even if the person cheat on you now, if you don't want the marriage again, tell her make you go. Marriage is not by force. No, seriously. It's not by force. So we have to, and our young ones, we need to pass on, because every generation, different things, we are seeing new things. Social media has come. A lot of us, we were born analog, we are trying to catch up with. We are trying, unlike our children, if I give this phone to my daughter, She will even explain it better to me than me, the owner. But then the social media has also come with its own challenges for women. It has come with a lot of cyberbullying, trying to bully young girls into silence. But also, young girls, we also need to understand a lot of things. One thing about history, and I'm going to stop there, that if you don't know where we are coming from, we've made some gains and we've made a lot of losses. And that's because we are not paying attention to history. We need to pay attention to history because there are several Benes, there are several women who have given their lives to the struggle. And so when we see, some of us, when we see young girls come in with some notions and ideas, trivializing some issues, it actually hurts some of us because we have given our entire lives to this work. It is not work for us, it is passion. If it is work that we wanted money, some of us know where we would have been making very good money. But for a lot of us, it's been passion, it's been, being intentional and all of that. So we got that. Talking of intergenerational again, I got a lot from Bene. Like I said, I loved her even before meeting her. And when I was starting the first shelter for abused women, it was both Bene and late Professor Jade Shola Akonde, those two women, who told me, Josephine, you can do this. You can do this. I was 30 years old, 31, when I started the very first shelter for abused women in Nigeria, known as Sophia's Place. Bene and Professor Jade Shola Akonde, I was afraid. I was just marrying them. They would have told me, you this one, waiting you sabi of marriage. You want to, they told me all sorts of things. You want to go and drive women away from their husbands. You went and set up a shelter. Waiting concern you if the man beat his wife. But Big Sister Bene and Professor Jade Shola Akonde, may their souls rest in peace. I am standing because they were. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll take one or two questions more and then we wrap this up. Iheoma, I'm sure we all agree that Bene was a very present and intentional leader. How do we take that forward? How can we ensure, beyond all the conversations around intergenerational challenges and benefits, how do we replicate Bene as that intentional person who was dedicated to building more leaders? She wasn't just the leader, she was focused on building more leaders. How do you suggest we do that?
Okay, so when Ngozi spoke earlier, Ngozi dropped some ideas when she commented, and so did Dr. Shetima when he spoke as well. I think everyone has dropped a few ideas on how we ensure that her legacy is not forgotten. But I also would like to start from the personal is political. I think that all of us online and in the hall have a responsibility to be a mentor to a young person that desires and seeks mentorship. And I'm not talking about the mentorship of carry my bag, hold my briefcase. I'm talking about structured mentorship that provides the opportunity for learning, unlearning, relearning, and taking on board new ways of working and relationship building. And we can't forget that because, as we know, we are feminists. No buts, no ifs, no maybes. And we have to do things deliberately, differently. So I think leadership is important, but I also think young people need to find their voice. And in an environment in which there is pressure to conform.
Thank you, moderator, comrades, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, it was my plan to be at this event.
Okay.
Got my ticket. And
Dr. Shetima's speech is on or is speaking, so I don't know whether you guys can hear it.
Please go ahead, Iheoma.
Okay,
It's
so
been sorted.
okay, so what I was trying to say was that young people need to be given the space to lead. And if it means leading within their young institutions, that's fine. But we need to hold their hands so that they lead in a manner that is transformative and not in a manner that is antagonistic. I really did enjoy what Aisha said earlier on, you know, some of the lessons as to when you're leading, when you come into the space, you don't criticize what the others have done, but you try to move forward. That's what, that is so important because that is what we're seeing. And so we need to find a way that our young sisters in the movement are leading constructively, but they also have somebody holding their hand. And I think that was what Bene was good at, encouraging you to think that you can aim for the skies and the opportunity was there and it was yours to grab it with 2 hands and 2 feet. So I think we all have a responsibility to mentor. We have a responsibility to ensure that young people have the opportunity to lead in a manner that is not so dividing, you know, encourages them, builds their confidence, etc., etc. I don't know whether that addresses your question.
Yes, quite well. Thank you so much. I know that you were on the steering committee of the NFF at some point, the Nigerian Feminist Forum, and that was one of Bene's babies. I would like to find out from you what you think we can do, ensure that it remains vibrant, that we're able to bring more feminists in, and that we will, you know, so that all of us can be proud and we will remember Bene and you will say, yes, she was a part of this.
So interestingly, I'm still on the steering committee, but things are a bit, you know, we're working our way through. Nevertheless, what can we do? I think we've had these conversations in different ways, but I want to lean more on what my generation and the younger generation. And it sounds so interesting that I'm seated here, you know. Most times when they look at me, I look at my white hair, everybody's calling me madam. But when I'm this way, I feel so small. I feel so small. One of the things we've talked about is looking at the social media tools that we're using now to reach more young people, more young women, to understand the rudiments of feminism. And when I hear young women talk about feminism online, I'm like, these people don't know what they are talking about. They don't understand the concept, the issues, and can't talk about it or even try to rationalize it properly. We used to have a program called Feminism 101. I think it's one of the basic trainings that anyone interested in understanding feminism can attend. Unfortunately, we can't do that program anymore because, of course, we have an issue of funding that is happening to everybody. Nigeria is happening to everyone, and funding is also happening to a lot of organizations. So we can't have that training. But that training is one of the basic fundamental training that any young woman should have. I feel that aside being a GPI woman, a GPI girl, if you attend that training, you're radicalized immediately. At the end of that training, you're looking for what to change. I have been part of the NFF Feminism 101. I actually attended the Feminism 101 and then went back to train other young women during the Feminism 101. I've done that twice, and I am still in touch with all the young girls that I trained. They are doing fantastically well, coming up, talking about issues that people dare not talk about. I support them, like their posts, comment on their posts. One of them is talking about abortion. On social media, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook. Abortion is an issue that people don't want to address. Nobody wants to touch it, but she's talking about it, ensuring that young women do not kill themselves drinking concoction and finding ways to assist themselves. So using social media, talking about Feminism 101, hand-holding is important. I wouldn't be here without hand-holding. Not only Bene hand-holded me, Ihioma has unholded me in NFF. I know we've talked to Bumi several times, you know, on different occasions. She's smiling at me. Several other women have handholded me. And I'm also holding other women's hand. I feel like the line becomes longer and stronger when the hand-holding extends. One thing that Ihioma mentioned is, let's not do it in a way that divides. Before, you know, the way women talk to us is that the Jacob I love, Esau I hate. You know, we don't want that anymore. We might be different in our own way of perceiving and doing our own things, but the issue remains the same. The goal is the same. All the things we are facing in patriarchy, sexual abuse remains the same till whenever. So we need to unhold each other, encourage each other. So I'll leave us with those three. I think if we can even implement one of them properly, we would go a long way.
So thank you, Emilia. I love you always, and we can always have our conversations. One thing that we also should note was how Bene was able to juggle her multiple identities. She was a mother, she was a wife, she was a mentor, she was an academic, she was a comrade. Whenever the comrades called, she was there. She was working to make our society a better place, as well as our personal lives. Or her personal life. So what would your suggestion be, Josephine, for how we can continue to support women, help them to juggle like Bene did?
Thank you very much, Bumi. This is a discussion I always have with young girls, and I always use myself as an example because I married on the job and I started everything I got married in 1997. I started having my babies immediately, and then I started Project Alert, same 1999. You can do it. What I'm telling young girls, you can. I'm not saying it's easy, but as women, we have both productive and reproductive functions. One must not suffer at the expense of the other. You shouldn't be brought down or allow yourself to be brought down because of your reproductive functions. You know, we think with our heads, we give birth with our wombs, isn't it? You know, so it's not easy, but what's the secret behind it is also a supportive spouse. If you are married. And that's why I say, as feminists, we know the men we are dodging. We know the men we are dodging. Oh. So when we see the ones that flows with our spirit, we see them and we pick them. In fact, we don't even, before they say good morning, we tell them good afternoon. And that's what a lot of us, Ika is here now. Bumi is here, I'm here. Comfort, we are all here. So when people say women, feminists hate men, I love men too much. I love men very much, you know. So we have to multitask as younger women. Please don't put yourself in a situation where, women abroad can afford to say that I postpone childbirth till 35. I will do what I'll face my car, because they have social welfare systems. They have things that can shock them, that can, help them. We don't have it here. Neither can you say that, okay, I don't want to have a child because I want to face my career. No, I want the best of both worlds. And some of us have had the best of both worlds. And I'm telling our young girls, you can also have it. You can multitask, you know, but I'm not saying it's easy. It's challenging, but you can do it. And you get married, please know who you get married to. Eh? Because if there's one thing that can change a young girl's life 360 degrees, it's a bad marriage. 300 men can bounce back from a problematic relationship. Women find it very difficult to bounce back. So please, love with your heart. But do what? Think with your head. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you're saying that we'll say to women, we should always let our heads control. Okay, they say love is blind. Is it really blind? I always tell people, oh, love is wearing goggles. Oh. Okay, so thank you. This brings us to the end of this panel. I hope that you have learned and that we'll have more, that the future Benes will soon, start shooting out from our midst. All of them, yeah, we can see them. But then beyond these ones that are here, how do we sustain Bene's legacy? That's what we have tried to do with this panel. So thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you? Let's put our hands together one more time for that very amazing panel session, which was, of course, a reminder to all of us to ensure that we play our parts, just like the late Professor Bene did, and to raise more Benes, like the panel session said, the making of future Benes. I'd like to quickly let you know that there's a QR code on the tables at the back. You can scan the code to download the tributes and a program of activities for today and tomorrow. We're gradually getting to the end of this program, but we have a few more goodwill messages to take. Some virtually, some physically. Let me quickly kick off with one physical goodwill message, which is going to be taken by Professor Roibito Ekpekenekanem from Women in Action for Positive Development and Gender Enhancement Center. Please put your hands together for her. Asma Jidao, yeah, if you're still online, please note that you're going to be taking the next goodwill session.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Turn to your right and say, are you feeling cool? Thank you very much. I want to start by saying, if wishes were horses, I would have preferred to have Bene back. Bene of the ages. Imagine yourself just finishing school and then coming in to sit in front of PhD holders older than you. And here you go. No, Roibito, call me Bene. No, Roibito, call me Eka. No. And these are all distinguished scholars who have trained you in the university. It took us time to readjust to such, opportunity, sitting with your lecturers, calling them by first name. That was what Bene stood for, Women in Nigeria. When I just finished my undergraduate studies, one of my dad's friends, Chibikpeme, walked into my dad's house and then informed him about these women in Nigeria that is existing in Calabar, and that looking at your daughter, she has the trait, she has to be there. And then she brought Dr. Ekanem Williams to my house. And then after discussing, she said, you have to come to Women in Nigeria. In short, you have to be the program manager. By the time I got there, I realized that I'm not going to be a worker. I'm going to be a member. Long story short, Women in Nigeria was a great environment. Bene was one of those who started Women in Nigeria, social movements, human rights activities, projects. Then nobody knew about projects in Nigeria. As of Bene, she brought in fish farm. Nobody knew about fish farm in Nigeria. Cross River State Women in Nigeria started fish farm in Nigeria. Kotsi, Bene, and Co. Bene will not hear you say no. Here you have women all bigger than you, all educated more than you, and then they will say, you are going to chair that committee. They whistle and then tell them, no, you see, Bene will go, no ifs, no, no. And she will challenge you. When you finish your task, Bene is always there when you are challenged. Bene was everything to us, the younger generation. Bene ensured that when we were doing reproductive health, I was nominated to go to Washington to represent not only women in Nigeria, Cross River State, but women in Nigeria as in Nigeria. And it wasn't funny. And she sat down and said, no, you can do it. No, you can do it. Of course, I went there and I had a very nasty experience. By the time we got there, the same funders that funded us, were so shocked at our own pamphlets. We had a magazine from Cross River State. In reproductive health, you start with the reproductive organs. And so the youths, in the school had drawn the female reproductive organ, then the male reproductive organ, and after that, they now were able to put the issues for discussion. And we went to this conference in Washington, and excitedly, I distributed the magazines to everybody. The shock I had. The coordinator opening, seeing the reproductive, was almost fainting. And I didn't realize, and she did that, she didn't realize I was watching, and they kept passing on. Of course, the Indians, the other African countries were very excited when they opened, but our funders didn't find it funny starting like that. And when it got to my turn, I was like, excuse me, I noticed you didn't touch our magazine. And they'll say to us, no, in America, you mean secondary school people did this? They would not have done that. Because they were arrested, it's not accepted. And of course, when I came back and I told them, I'm like, wow, here we go. Where did we get this sort of thing happening here? Of course, Bene would not take that. Bene was like, no, you don't have to be defeated. You went there, you've done your own, and let us continue, keep the mantle, alive. And that motivated me to go higher. Is it the Beijing conference in China? Of course, I was also nominated, Kotsi Women in Nigeria, and of course, Bene was there. We did not just only go there to, talk. We make sure our own impact was represented. Women in Nigeria, Cross River State was extremely strong in the nation because we had people like Bene. When they call us to go to Kano by 10 p.m., of course, no ifs, no. You have to leave Calabar and arrive. Good night, Calabar. Good morning, Kano. And you're sitting for a meeting and you are going again. Good morning, Kano, and then good night, Lagos. The social movement was positive. Why all this long history? The history brings me to where I am today. After being empowered, being strengthened, having all it takes, when I took my first stride, I became not only the first, I am actually known as the first when it comes to Unicross, because I founded the Faculty of Education. I founded my Department of Educational Foundation. I founded also guidance and counseling departments. And as an individual, I would say, because I was given enough opportunity and then the capacity built, I am also here to say that I have also been politically in the state, the Director General, who have strengthened a sector. I have also been a Commissioner for Forestry Commission, and I have others that I can see just because of our mommy, Bene. Bene strengthened, Bene built, and Bene has achieved because the footprints are here. Our sister Toyo is here. We have so many of us that we can talk about. Tammy and the rest of them. May the souls of all those departed through the mercy of God rest in peace.
Thank you very much, Professor Ibito. If we still have a smile Joda online, we could just link her up for her goodwill message. Please, let's keep it very short, 2 minutes. And after that, I would be inviting the Executive Director of the International Press Center, who is here with us, Mr. Lanre Arogundade, for his goodwill message as well. Okay, while we're waiting for that connection, can we have Mr. Lanre Arogundade? Please put your hands together for the ED of the International Press Center.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody here for this worthy tribute assembly for Comrade Bene Madunagu. Well, a lot of people have said that they are products of GPI. I'm also proud to say that I'm a graduate of a woman in Nigeria. I was one of the foundation members. And that in itself has an important history about what Comrade Bene and others did. Because having been foundation members of a woman in Nigeria and later finding ourselves in the leadership of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, we as men also fought with female journalists to have the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, which was resisted by a number of male colleagues who felt that why should we have Women Journalists Association within AUJ? So it was a battle that we fought. But before then, we had also fought another battle on campus in the 1980s. So I was excited when the young lady, one of the GPI products, talked about becoming the president of the Unical Students Union. And apparently from the narrative and the smiles, it was a journey that was relatively easy. But in 1984, 1985, at the University of Ife campus, now Obafemi Awolowo University, when we tried to have the first female president, we were stoned on campus by men. And if you have Yoruba speakers here, you would understand what is called incantation in Yoruba language. That in an academic environment, male students went around and they were saying that it didn't happen in the days of their forefathers. It will not happen in their lifetime. To the extent that in order to truncate impending victory, and I'm talking of Bimbo Bamidele, who is now Bimbo Azu, a lawyer, they had to set ablaze the student union boss. But why did we support that cause? We supported it because we were also not just ordinary student activists, we were socialists and Marxists. So when we want to put the trajectory of the struggle of Comrade Bene in proper context, we must also realize that all the things he did were not accidental. They were products of an ideological orientation. And like Josephine said, we still have a lot of struggle to wage. Let us not forget that she was a leader of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. So it will be good for us to have GPI products and others, not just operating at the level of the student unions, but even the trade unions, and in fact, the political movements. I'm generally overwhelmed about the crisis that women are facing, and Josephine has just mentioned an aspect of it, the brutalities. But we even have other forms of brutality that are generally unseen as a result of the socio-economic crisis. I can wager that in most families today, women are carrying the larger burden. As single mothers, as those who have been widowed by Boko Haram, by crisis, by accidents, who are training their children, who are doing 3-4 works. There are female students who are also female workers. And unless we have a political dispensation that recognizes the important place of women, we will not get there. So let us read more the works of Prof Bene and others, so that we can fight for those things that will liberate women. I will give this final example as a feminist, and it usually surprises people when I say so. Well, I was born in a traditional home. We didn't have the privilege of hospital. But in 1974, and this was under military government, my mom had her last child. When she was going to give birth, I was about 12 years old then. She just packed her clothes and went to the motor park and traveled to Ado-Ekiti. I'm talking of Ekiti State. We were living in a village called Osi-Ekiti, which, as at that time, would take about 1 hour journey. So she just traveled. We didn't know where she was going. And then the following day, my dad just called us and said, your mother should have delivered her baby. My first reaction was she pregnant? And my dad laughed and said, in the dialect, and said, she oniko ba loyun bí money. That is, if a woman is not pregnant, will she have a child? Now, where she went was called Ile Abiye. It was a specialist hospital dedicated to women, to pregnant women. She came back 2 days later. My mother is still alive. She's 88. And recently, I went to interview her because I'm a journalist. And I tried to revisit that event. And I said, I was a young person. You packed your clothes and you went to the motor park. Did anybody follow you? I want to be sure. She said, no, nobody followed her. When you get to that hospital, did anybody stay with you? She said, nobody stayed with her. In fact, my dad was at home. Because as at that time, there was a healthcare system that took care of pregnant women up to and including complications. Whether you needed to do CS and everything, no family member was required. That is the kind of system we need to fight for, because it also helps in strengthening women. A pregnant woman that wants to go to the hospital today will panic. The husband will panic. The family will borrow and borrow, because for everything that you need, it would have to be provided. That is why a person like Prof Bene was a socialist fighting for the emancipation of the working class. I want to challenge you, this younger generation and our generation that is still there, that this is the kind of Nigeria we want to fight for. And we should stop being cheerleaders of leaders that don't provide those kind of facilities. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lamre Arogundade. That deserved another round of applause. If we have a smile
I'm here.
ready,
I think I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'd like to say I'm wishing my comrade and feminist sister Bene a peaceful rest after a life of selfless service to make especially the lives of girls and women worth living. Many people have said so, so I'll just repeat, but I'll try to be a bit different. Bene had a profound impact on many girls and women across the nation, and I'm underlining across the nation, and changed the way they thought of, especially themselves. And we've had testimonies of girls who have said their lives changed because they met Bene. Like a lot of people, I met Bene in Wynn. And I also have Bene to thank for being part of the Fund for Leadership Development of MacArthur Foundation, which gave me an opportunity to set up my NGO called the Center for Women and Adolescent Empowerment in Iola, very, very far away from Calabar. I would also like, on behalf of the Center for Women and Adolescent Empowerment, to acknowledge that Bene gave refuge. I needed places for girls who are either going to be child brides or other issues that came up in our own specific context. And Bene took one of my daughters, who became her daughter and is probably now listening to us. She took her for about 18 months so that threat was over. And I'm proud to say this young woman actually finished her education and went on and graduated from university. I'll say, may her legacy continue to inspire others. May we think like Bene and stop thinking about North, South, or Muslim, Christian. And as Mero testified, she was the one who woke her up to say her prayers. I hope we'll be able to do that. And for me, this is the end, but I'll say I truly miss Bene's hugs. I don't think anybody knows how to hug anybody like Bene did. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I spotted Dr. Otive Ibuzo of Center LSD. If he's there, I'd like to request that he quickly takes his goodwill message as we gradually wrapping up the goodwill sessions. Can you hear me, Dr. Otive?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much. And please, I'm going to share a few minutes tribute to our departed icon, Professor Bene Madunagu. Like many people, I met Bene Madunagu at the Women in Nigeria. And as Comrade Lanre Arumudade noted, what took us men to Women in Nigeria, an organization dedicated to the improvement of the condition of living of women in Nigeria, using class and gender perspectives, was clearly ideology. We were socialists, we are Marxists, and that is what carried us to Women in Nigeria. We worked very well with Dr. Bene Madunagu, and you can all see the testimonies that several people have given today. I think for me, what is crucial and to make the memories of Bene Madunagu to live on is to return to the question of ideology in our lives and politics. I've always said that if it is possible to be born again, to come to life through incarnation, I will come back as Otive Ibuzo. I will come back as a Marxist. I will come back as a Christian. Bene Madunagu has touched our lives in various ways. The only way we can continue to remember her is to continue to push the ideologies, the ideas that she lived for. And for many of us, she will continue to, her memory will continue to live with us. And I want to conclude by saying that I've always proudly said everywhere that even though I'm a man, I'm a feminist. And as Josephine has said, there are many erroneous conceptions of feminism. For me, it is equal rights and opportunities for all human beings, men and women. I want to thank all comrades for this honor we are done to Bene Madunagu. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much, Dr. Otive Ibuzo of Center LSD. We'll quickly go over to the next goodwill message, and that is going to be taken by the DVC Administration, University of Calabar. She's here herself, Professor Enonta. Please put your hands together for her.
Good afternoon. I don't know when I last saw Eddie, but are you looking very different? No, the shaggy hair is still there. Okay. What can I say about Bene that has not been said? The only thing is the trips we used to make in that rickety Volkswagen from Ibadan to Calabar, and we would take off and we would surprise the men when we would arrive. You mean you guys left at what time? Did you stop on the way? We said, no, we drove straight to Calabar. And those were the days when we were at UI. She was on a PhD program. I was also, although I abandoned mine somewhere along the line. And we had a lot of fun. Then she, what did I learn from her? To be, everything seemed to work. So you didn't really need to struggle for anything, as it were. But she made me to begin to look more critically at the things around me and to be a bit more discerning, and finally to decide that every woman around me would have to be stronger than I have ever been. And I hope and I pray and I believe I have brought up girls that are much stronger, more vocal, and more goal-getting. But beyond that, Bene remained someone that continued to mentor, sometimes from a distance. And I tried to do the things she pointed me out to do. She took me to win, actually. And, you know, I had some good time there too. Unfortunately, I have a sister-in-law, Nike, who embraced a lot more of what she stood for. And that became my joy. So, Bene, you were a good friend, a very good friend. I remember those days when the babies were coming, going to help with Ikenna and all of that. It was a good time, and I cherish those. The one of ASU will be taken at the ASU Forum. Thank you. Rest in power.
Thank you very much. We will take our very last goodwill message from the coordinator of Girls Power Initiative, Benin Center. Please, let's have the Girls Power Initiative coordinator for Benin City come up.
Thank you very much. I'm presenting this tribute on behalf of management and staff of Girls Power Initiative, GAR members, outreach guests, and center guests of GPI Benin and their beneficiaries. Our heartfelt condolences to the family of Prof Bene Madunagu, the co-founder of Girls Power Initiative, GPI Nigeria, and the people of Calabar at this difficult time
as world gather to celebrate and mourn the extraordinary life of a remarkable feminist who devoted her life to empowering women and girls, ensuring they develop a voice in a society known for hushing and discriminating against them. With profound respect and admiration, we honor Momsi B, unwavering dedication and unrelenting pursuit of a more just and equitable society. To her family and friends, we hope they can find solace in knowing that she made a positive difference in the lives of thousands of people who came across her. Her legacy will continue to inspire generations to come, and her impact will be felt for years to come. Rest on, Ademomsibi. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, I would like to once again invite up here the program chair, Faith Wadishi. We started off with you and we're inviting you yet again to come up for, to wrap up the session basically before we go.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Perhaps I'll just take 2 minutes and give my own life experience. Comrade Larry said he's a graduate of WIN. Maybe I should also say I'm a graduate of WIN. So I lost my father in 1995. But before then, I had been part of the student union struggle. And we had issues with a female being one student union leader, but I struggled to be the deputy registrar of the student senate. That was before my father's passing. But when my father passed in 1995, I had this struggle with family, being the first daughter. I'm sure that when Larry was talking about the single mothers, he forgot to talk about the first daughters. Because today are taking over families. Even if we don't have rights to own properties, we don't get to own our father's properties, even our mother's properties, but we get to take care of the families they have left behind. That's my story. So when I joined WIN, and I'm so happy that we have the sister that talked about Grace Osakwe and Co. Grace Osakwe was, by the way, my teacher in secondary school. We're there, and we had all of this convening. Thank you, Professor Roybito. Ambassador is out of here. I see a lot of us, and I see this also as a reconvening of those days from women in Nigeria. Thank you for everyone that made it possible for us to gather as women in Nigeria. And thank you for the men who were members of Women in Nigeria that also supported that struggle. I don't want to dilute the stories we have heard here. When I gave my opening remarks, I was quite emotional, but I'm happy that all of the testimonies and the songs that we have sung here are things that remind us of the fact that if Momsi B were in this hall, if she were in this hall, we would have had those songs, would have had those laughters. My first experience before meeting her personally or physically was when I went to visit late Professor Festus Iyayi in Uniben. He had a student who was doing a research on women's movement in Nigeria. And I was sitting there in the hall, and he looked at the paper and said, "You are talking about women's movement in Nigeria. You have not mentioned women in Nigeria. I don't see you mentioning women in Nigeria. I don't see you mentioning Bene Madunagu. I don't see you mentioning Asha Imam. You have not started." He just did this on the paper and said, "Go and research. Go and research." And at that time, I was just elected as a Edo State coordinator of women in Nigeria. I was amazed. He said, "If you want more information and you see this woman, go and look for her." That's to tell you how profound the impact that women in Nigeria had, not just in the people who were members of Women in Nigeria, but in the entire narrative about women's movement. I want to thank you for the opportunity to chair this. I was inaugurated into the board of GPI, and when I was invited to do that, I was told to bring the perspective of women in the extractives to the board. I'm so proud and privileged to be here representing our chair, Professor Ayo, who is unavoidably absent. You know, the issues they have in University of Lagos, the convocation ceremonies and all of that. And Momsi G is also not here. She has been one woman who has handheld me through this entire process. And I'm happy that the work that they all did, and we found a perfect foundation to build on, is where we are here today. People talk about the generations. I'm trying to figure out which of the generations I belong now. Truly, I'm trying to. I can't claim to be in the first generation. I can't claim to be in the second generation. But however, what matters is that you must find yourself within any generation you define for yourself. I think that is one of the fundamental messages we are taking away from here. During the NSAS, a lot of people said the older people they have not done enough, and we need to take it. And I told somebody, in those days in Women in Nigeria, we didn't wait to be funded to attend a meeting. You could actually go on a truck. You are going all around Nigeria because you wanted to go for a meeting. You will start the meeting at 8 a.m. on Saturday and end 8 a.m. on Sunday without a break. We are sitting down there discussing the state of the nation. Can we have that again? Can we have that narrative come back? Can we have the kind of convening we are having here because of the legacies that Momsi B has set up for us? It is important for the older generation, the middle generation, and the younger generation. I was somewhere recently and somebody said, when you hear Gen Z, you are hearing it from the older generation who don't want to be in the place of the younger generation. So rather than call them younger generation, we describe them as Gen Z. So please, whether you are Gen Alpha or Gen Z or whatever generation you find yourself, the most important thing is keep holding the hands. We must make it longer. We must make it stronger, because the strength of the hand that we hold is as weak as the weakest side of that hand. I learned a lot from Mommy B. I learned a lot, I'm still learning from Mommy G. And I'm sure that after here, we will continue learning, because the war, as described in the tribute from Professor Ayo, is still on. But where are the warriors? Where are the heroes? When that story is told, how many of us will be counted as heroes, as feminists, where we say no ifs, no buts, no maybes? Thank you very much, and I hope your time here has been well spent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our Honorable Chairperson. What a way to wrap up the session. We've heard from friends, we've heard from mentors, mentees, colleagues, and so many other persons here today. And it's about time now for us to hear from family. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the daughter of the late Professor Bene Madunagu. She is Unoma Madunagu Agrinya. She's coming to speak on behalf of the family.
Momsi B. Who did Momsi B consider family? You know, when she called me and said, you have to represent the family. Momsi B had a huge family. We all here, Momsi B considered family. the Nigerian left, Momsibi considered family. ASU, Momsibi considered family. When I got the news of her passing, I didn't know how, because this is a force. How do I ensure that her legacy, her integrity, everything she stood for was respected? I went to her better half, Momsibi and my father, inseparable. And I knew that with that foundation and with the support of her family, we could allow her voice to be heard again, even as she has passed. My father and I, when we were thinking about this, we said Momsibi was big. And the only way we could achieve this was to reach out to her other families. And this was one of those families. And I must say that as much as possible, we want this period to be about this woman. Her integrity, what she stood for, her selflessness. Momsibi was selfless. She did nothing for her personal gain. Even in family, where she grew up, where she lived and brought me up. I had a different passion from her, and she stood by me to the very end. That is the selfless Momsibi I know. And I want to say thank you for all her families that are here and have ensured that that legacy and that integrity of this force was kept here this day. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much. I had said that was going to be about the final, but I think it would be an error if we leave here without listening to His Royal Majesty, who is here with us, and of course is representing I'm told he's representing the community where GPI is. So please, let's put our hands together for Ndabo, His Royal Highness Emmanuel Duke. Let's listen to him for just a minute.
Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. I'm very much delighted to be here and to express my gratitude to a well-deserved icon. I first got in contact with Bene Madunagu when she was at Ekbobasi, where our land is being situated. I was equally happy that 2 of my children were the offsprings of his Girls Power initiative. I have seen 2 of them here, and I was very, very happy. They said behind a successful woman or man, there's a man or woman behind. I am so grateful to Ben Edwin Madunagu for giving a big support to the wife to achieve all this that I have achieved. Thank you very much. My first contact with the Girls Power at the first meeting where we have at Marian Hotel under the graduation of my first daughter, I was a bit surprised. Is this woman trying to bring up the children, the girl's child, against the parents or what? I must be frank. But as time goes on, I happen to be attending the activities and watching my girl child in the house behave. The story is for another day. In fact, all that the people have come out here to say is nothing but the truth. The girl child are very, very up and going. The reverse is the case. They said about the first child, my first daughter always look at me to see what is my problem. When I turned 60, the two of them connived and gave me a borehole in my house. In fact, my children to carry all along, every December, on the 25th, they have to celebrate. And I have a gift, a very bountiful gift from all of them. The gift that I will open the box on the 26th. It happens just recently. Girls Power, I have been more or less a stakeholder in the Girls Power initiative. I give kudos to them, a very big kudos. 2017, they sent me to Abuja for girl child genital mutilation and so on. 2018, no. This is 2023. They sent me to Abuja again for another session of girls' child and women initiative, so to say. Violence against girl, child, and women. I have been part and parcel of the community. In fact, when I see Mrs. Ndode here, I think I see Bene Madunagu. That woman is something else. To wrap it all, may her gentle soul rest in peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Royal Highness. And very quickly, there's going to be a presentation for the family. We'd like to request that the 3 children of the late icon who are here, please step forward to receive this on behalf of the family.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're waiting for, it's not only you, Norma. Okay, Norma, your brothers, okay. Second one, it's coming. Okay. Dear children, because Bene's children are our children. Do you understand? This is from us all, her feminist sisters, that we give you this art piece of Bene with our love, and that to assure you that Bene's legacy is intact. So we present this to the family. We present this to the family. It can be kept at GPI headquarters so that history will always remember that this great woman started a movement. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this presentation, and I would like to formally hand this over to her other daughter, Comfort Ikpe, to please take possession of this gift to the family, because she is truly part of the family.
Thank you so much on behalf of the board, management and staff of Girls Power Initiative, GPI. We received this wholeheartedly, and we are going to display it in a very strategic position in the office, whereby if anybody sees GPI office, this will be very, very visible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And like they say, everything that has a beginning definitely should have an end. It's about time now for us to bring to a close the part A of this program. I'm aware that there is part B and there is part C. The part B is the funeral conference, which is going to be holding at ASU Secretariat, and that's going to happen by 4 o'clock. And of course, the part C is the social and funeral wake at ASU Secretariat, and that will be taking place at 7 p.m. Once again, very many thanks to everyone who's been here. My name is Bene Madunagu, and it's been my pleasure doing this. I'm going to invite Bridget Osakwe to give the final vote of thanks. She will be joining us virtually.
Can you hear me, please? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Thank you. I have heard all the eulogies. I have heard the good works that she has done. And I'm not going to be adding to the long stories. I'm just here to thank everyone from Gen Z to from Gen Alpha, according to Faith, to Gen Z. For our sisters who are able to make it to Calabar right now, I thank you. The organizers, I thank you and I appreciate all your efforts. For me, the structures that she has built are the most important thing that is happening. It is these structures that is ensuring that we are having a very useful and active generational shifts. In trying to bridge this generational gap, GPI has been very deliberate and intentional. And we are all beneficiaries of the works. Either, if even we are not directly alumni of GPI, but one way or the other we have been associated and benefited from that. Thank you everyone who have said a very, all the good things about Prof. But I want to leave us all with She has done her part. What parts am I doing? What will be said about Bridget when she leaves? And then, how do we sustain this team? I have heard a lot of people say, how do we have this convening? How do we have this? How do we have that? But I must say that the very vibrant young women leaders that we have in Nigeria today is a part of those structures that she and the other women have built. And I will have different story about activism. A lot of you have touched it here and there about those days, how women in Nigeria, the movements and all that, the sacrifices. But now activism have gained professionalism. A lot of people are not taking activism as a profession and earning from it. So it's one plus for her. And for us that are remaining, what are we living? I can see all my sisters there. I don't want to name anybody, but I thank you all for being there. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. At last minute, I have my ticket, but last minute something cropped up. But I have been following up all the conversations, the emotions. But the last word I'm going to say is that this struggle continues so that it doesn't end now that she is gone. Thank you, everyone. Good day.
Thank you very much, Bridget Osakwe. Please let us be reminded that there's a condolence register at the back, and do well to sign the register if you would wish to. Once again, thank you.
Yes, I guess we are done. Huh?
Thank you all for participating online.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to Disney's Club Coca-Cola.
Best wishes, best wishes in all you do, and continue to chip in to support the continuation of Bene's expansion of Bene's legacy. Bye, everyone.